Welcome to Comfort Zone, a podcast all about pushing your hosts outside of their comfort zone. I'm Christopher Lawley, and every week I am joined by two stunning, but they might kick you while you're down, co-hosts. First up, Matt Birchler. Matt, how are you doing?
Chris, I'm feeling apologetic today.
You should. And we're also joined by Niléane. Niléane, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I guess I decided to wear sunglasses today. So.
Nice. Just pulling off like the Beatles look, like very like, don't ask me any questions. I need my coffee.
Totally not because I look extremely tired underneath, but yeah.
That's okay. I'm extremely tired as well. I want to take a minute and thank both of you for hosting last week and carrying on without me and doing all the editing and publishing and all that stuff. I really appreciated that. I was not thinking about the words I said a couple episodes ago because I was right and you were wrong. I have no reason to think about that. But I was sick with COVID, and oh boy, did nobody want to hear me talk on that day that you guys recorded. So I appreciate what you guys did. Though apparently I was so sick, I don't even remember popping on for like 30 seconds, you know?
I was going to say, you were here briefly.
Yeah, I was I don't even remember that. But also, is it just me or did I sound like John Voorhees? Like, it sounded very, very similar to John Voorhees to me.
It's quite the compliment, honestly.
He's got an amazing voice. But I have no idea. Was that AI trained on me? Like, did you guys like give him my YouTube videos or something? Or am I overthinking this?
Well, OpenAI did that. We didn't need to do that.
Every AI service has stolen my YouTube videos. Thank you, AI services. I appreciate you. That was sarcasm.
That was just a prompt where I said, you are Christopher Lawley, and you love iPads, and you hate Daft Punk, and you keep reminding everyone that you hate Daft Punk, and that's it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that's good. I appreciate it. No, the when it popped on, I was like, wait, did you guys get John to do this bit or something? But no, I love to me. I don't know why. Maybe it was just my sickly, addled brain that was just confusing everything. It probably would have been hilarious to have me on the show, but I would have been miserable. So I appreciate the both of you for carrying on without me and taking care of the show. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Of course.
So first up in our document, Matt, what do you got for us this week?
Yeah, so this is a big week of apologies for me.
Oh, God.
So I'm sorry to you, Chris, for really hitting you while you were down.
I appreciate it.
Unnecessary.
No,
I would do it again.
Yeah. I appreciate. Seriously, did not get mad at all. It was hilarious. Loved it. Every second of it. Not mad. Really enjoyed it.
So the other thing I need to apologize for, I actually am kicking myself a little bit for doing. Last week I talked about Overcast and its new update that came out and the things I liked and don't like about that. And right at the end, we snuck in an unintentional dig at another podcast app. Niléane and I both said we don't love Pocket Casts, and we don't know why, but we just don't like it. And I hung up the call that week, and I just kind of sat there like, do I not like Pocket Casts? And so I installed it again immediately afterwards, and I've been using it for the past week. And I need to apologize to Pocket Casts. I need to apologize to everyone on social media who likes Pocket Casts and told me about that. I like Pocket Casts as well now.
Oh, okay.
Were your mentions flooded with people outraged?
They were not flooded. Flooded is not... My mentions are very rarely flooded with anything.
Okay.
But I did post over the weekend, last weekend, I did post something about an annoyance I had with how Pocket Cast works right after I'd installed it. And I got lots of people messaging me saying, the more annoying response was, you're using it wrong. But then lots of other people were like, here's some settings you could maybe change to make your life a little better. But I've been using it for the past week, and I like it actually a good amount. I could see myself using it for a while now. And I got thinking about why it wasn't a big thing to me. Like, it wasn't the podcast app that I chose personally. And I think that the thing that it was for me is that Pocket Cast didn't have its specific quirk. It didn't have its specific like thing that it did that the other apps didn't do that I used. Like Overcast was the best for clip sharing, in my opinion, and so I liked it for clip sharing. Castro had its like cool queue and inbox system, and Apple's podcast app has like just a beautiful UI, and the transcripts now are awesome, and those are all kind of like unique things that are best in for them. And I didn't know what that thing was for Pocket Casts, and it turns out I don't think it's best at anything, but it's good at pretty much everything. And that's worth something as well to me. So I want to talk about the things I liked about it. There's 4 main things that really drew me to it. But yeah, I don't know if Niléane, you wanted to change your answer from last time or add some context as to why you don't love it. And Chris, we didn't have you on, so I'm curious if you have any experience with Pocket Casts or have opinions on it.
To be fair, Pocket Cast looks good. Like, the UI looks good, and it's fully featured. But I'm just not a fan of the way everything's laid out, so to speak. I guess I don't have any specific grievances with the app. I just never was able to stick to it. Is that a satisfying answer? I'm sure not, but
it is. That's very similar to me. I think. Like I just, it's like that Mad Men meme of like, I don't think about you at all. Like, it just wasn't on my radar for a long time.
Yeah, I find podcast apps to be probably one of the harder apps to design, because if you think about what a good podcast app should be, you should basically never be interacting with the UI, or rarely interacting with the UI, I should say. So like, most of the time you're using a podcast app, you have headphones in, or you're just playing audio or whatever, whether it's through the speaker of your phone, headphones, HomePods, whatever, it doesn't matter. So for me, like, a good podcast app is one that just gets out of my way, and one that I don't have to fiddle with a bunch. I've been a big Overcast user for years because Overcast did that for me. It got out of the way, but if I ever needed to like get into the app to maybe one of the hosts, you know, like on our show, we talk about things we love. So maybe a host is talking about a tech gadget or an app or something that they really like. And you know, I want to be able to pull that up, so I need to be able to get to the show notes quickly and stuff like that. And Overcast was that for me for a very, very long time. And it still is for the most part. I'm still using Overcast. I didn't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, it's completely different, I'm going to jump ship. I wanted to give it time to kind of settle and see, you know, what I like. And there's a few things I like about it. There's some stuff I don't like about it. But for me, the way I've always used Overcast, ever since Marco added playlist support, I have a playlist called All Unplayed podcast. And basically what this is every episode of a show that isn't played that's in my podcast app goes here, and then I use the prioritization feature in podcasts to prioritize more news related shows. So like Connected or Upgrade, like those get put at the top automatically, and stuff that isn't as newsy, that's maybe like more video game related, or something like our show that's kind of a little less you know, time specific. Like there's a few things, like my topic is a little more time specific this week, but for the most part our stuff is very general and could be listened to at any point. But I really like that. I am curious to play with Castro and Pocket Cast again. I have used both of those in the past, but I never really used them for very long and kind of always went back to Overcast, just because the two big things in Overcast for me, Smart Speed and Voice Boost. And none of these other podcast apps have even come close to being able to match that. I don't have nearly as much time as I used to when I first got into podcasts. When I first got into podcasts, well, actually, the second time I really got into podcasts, let's go with that. I had a job where I was driving up and down. If anyone knows California, basically I was driving up and down between Bakersfield and Modesto doing third-party IT work. I spent most of my day in the car. It was great if you were a podcast fan. But now I'm self-employed. I work from home. I don't have a commute, so I don't have a ton of time for podcasts. So something like Voice Boost, or I'm sorry, Smart Speed is very important to me to get through big chunks of podcasts and stuff like that. Like, I actually think I looked and I have like close to like 500 hours of like time saved thanks to Smart Speed. So it's kind of a valuable feature to me.
Okay, sweet. So I think another reason for you, I'll skip to one of my annoyances. The iPad app for Pocket Casts is the most cliche iPhone app blown up to iPad size. It's literally the same UI. There's no columns. There's no, like, it's exactly the same UI, even in landscape. So that's one thing. And Castro, I still think does not have a iPad app at all. So I think you just run the iPhone one.
Yeah.
Although maybe in Stage Manager that's better.
Yeah, that is kind of the nice thing about Stage Manager is I have a bunch of apps that are iPhone only, like Instagram, for example. Whenever I publish a video or something like that, I post from my iPad thanks to Stage Manager, and I just use the iPhone app.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the things that I respect about Pocket Casts and drew it to me. The first one I already mentioned. It is everywhere. It is on every platform. So iPhone, iPad, Mac, but it's also on Windows. It's also on Android, and it's a good app on Android. Like, it's not just like the crappy version of the app that's on Android, which some apps that make the jump do. It's very good there.
There is a web app too, right?
There is a web app, and the web app is so good. Like,
but is it on WebOS?
I bet you could make it work.
I'm just saying, WebOS, you can't do real work unless it's on WebOS.
That's true. I do most of my work on WebOS.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Wow, okay.
And my podcast listening now because of the web. But yeah, it's everywhere, and it's so good. And I really, really like that. And I have to remind myself that we live in a niche that only uses Apple devices. But the average iPhone user has a Windows computer. The average Android user might have an iPad. So, like, people are cross-platform very, very often. And I could see why, if you want to have your podcast sync between your non-Apple devices and your Apple devices, this would be very, very compelling. So that's one. The other thing is I currently feel quite strongly this is the best now playing screen in any podcast app.
Oh.
It is very, very good. It has larger touch targets. Everything is one tap away. One of the complaints I had last week with Overcast, the new update, is that they've moved some things to be 2 taps away that used to be 1 tap, and that's slightly annoying, but it's slightly annoying every time. And they also have gestures, so you can swipe between the pages kind of like with the old Overcast UI, but it's the full screen that moves. And so you have the full screen for chapters, the full screen for show notes. It's the best. I am so happy about it. Like, even little things, like on the now playing screen, it shows you a progress bar for the chapter you're currently in, so you know how far you have left in that chapter. That's really good. It supports YouTube style timestamps in the show notes. So a lot of shows will not do full good podcast chapters like we do. They'll just put like YouTube style like timestamps in the description for when things happen, and those are tappable. Every app does that now. Even Apple Podcasts and iOS 18 is going to add that. But it's so good to have it here, and it's just very, very nice. And the fourth thing is good discovery. I think Castro and Overcast have basically zero discovery. They have a discovery page, but like I never ever use it. Apple Podcasts is pretty good here, and Pocket Casts has an actually quite good discovery page, and I think that's awesome to surface more podcasts. So those are some of the things that just like really stood out to me. And I think the one thing that draws me the most is the really good now playing screen, because Chris, like you said, I just wanted to get out of my way. I just want to do what I want to do quickly, and that's what the screen lets me do. So I'm quite happy with that.
How is Pocket Cast, like, do they have a voice boost and smart speed feature? How is that? Like I said, I haven't used it in a very long time, so I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. So this is where the show is not a official review show. I have not used all the features. They do have a voice boost and a strip silence feature. How good they are, I do not know because I don't use either of those features.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I used to use the smart speed and trim silence and whatever each app calls it. But I found there were moments in podcasts where like I wasn't getting the joke because I wasn't hearing the awkward silence, or I wasn't hearing the cadence of the person talking and like how that impacted like what they were saying. And so I turned it off, and I'm actually okay with it. So I'm surely losing time, but I think just I'm currently in a more zen state for podcasts where I don't need to listen at full speed and I don't need to strip silences out. I'm going to listen to a little less, but I'm going to hopefully enjoy it more. But, you know, everyone to each their own. I don't really care what anyone else does, but yeah, that's been working for me. So I have not used these features. I assume they're okay at the very least, but I don't have an experience with them yet.
Interesting.
So there is two things that are very annoying to me about this app. One is there's no clip sharing, which is a real bummer for me. I clip share basically every day I listen to podcasts. Sometimes it's for posting online. Sometimes it's just for me to like save a little segment that I think was fun and want to just save for later. Because podcasts are very ephemeral just in general. So I like to kind of have like little clips that I can go back to and hear. No clip sharing. Overcast and Castro have it. Apple Podcasts with its transcripts has a unofficial screen share or clip sharing thing that we talked about last week, where you can just record your screen on the transcript page. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, that's the thing that I know most people don't care about. And the other thing that's really annoying to me is what I posted on social media is when you add a new show in Pocket Casts, it marks every episode as unplayed, and it adds it to all of your filters. So whatever filter you have set up to like for like new releases or favorite shows or whatever, it adds sometimes thousands of episodes to that filter. And then you have to like go in and like there's a couple taps to select all, and
you have to listen to them all.
You have to listen to them all. That's the one downside is you have to listen to every single episode.
When you subscribe to a podcast, especially if it has more than 1,000 episodes, some big guy named Bubba shows up at your door and he just stands over your shoulder, arms crossed, looking down on you, and is just like, "All right, I'm here until you finish those."
Yep. Yeah, just out of camera, he's over here.
What's his name?
Bubba.
Bubba.
His name's Bubba.
Okay, like in Star Wars.
That's a southern name.
It's from another galaxy. Anyway,
basically.
So yeah, so that's annoying. I've heard from numerous Pocket Cast users that it's actually a feature, not a bug. I disagree, but it's not the end of the world.
But I think that's one thing that I did not mention last week. One reason that I enjoyed going back to Apple Podcasts is because it has taught me not to care about those things. Because Apple Podcasts doesn't care as much about marking episodes as read and unread and stuff. You can just poke around your library or the up next queue and pick something to play. And it's all right. You don't have to manage filters and mark episodes as read. You can add a new podcast and it won't add the back catalog to your library or something. And that's been nice.
Yeah, but like even Apple Podcasts has like a latest episodes screen, which is basically what I replicated in every app. And they only add one episode. They don't add like every single one there. So it is strange. So the way I do podcasts is I like to have it like a mail app, basically. Like I want an inbox with all the new episodes that come in, and I want to archive the ones I don't want to listen to, and I want to listen to the ones just right there. Apparently some people get really aggressive with playlists and like create a queue of things they're actually going to listen to. Chris, it sounds like that's more like what you do, where you have multiple playlists.
I would say it's kind of more of a blend between what you do and that. I just have one playlist, and every new episode of a show that comes in. So, say App Stories has a new episode, but I haven't even listened to the one the week before. So both episodes of App Stories will be in there. It gets the playlist is sorted by oldest to newest, but then there are a few podcasts that use there's a priority setting in Overcast, the playlist, that you can prioritize a few podcasts. So news related shows always get put at the top of that queue. Everything else just filters in oldest to newest. And if there isn't something I want to listen to, like maybe, there's an episode about the Mac and I'm just like, well, that's, it's not for me. Like I'm not the Mac person. I'll just delete that one. No big deal. And then move on to the next thing. So it's kind of a blend of that. And I haven't really found a podcast app that does that natively without having you to do some kind of configuration to make it, come in like that. But the nice thing about that is I can literally just jump into my podcast app and resume that playlist, or tell the assistant to resume, and it should do that. Though I think the shortcut support might be gone in the new Overcast. I don't know. I've been sick with COVID. I haven't had a chance to play with it all that much. So
the last thing, I guess, pricing. Pocket Cast is a subscription, but take all of my opinions with a grain of salt, because I bought the app for like $7 10 years ago, and apparently that gave me a lifetime subscription for free. So
nice.
Yeah, I've also got that, and I often forget that you gotta subscribe nowadays.
Yeah. So yeah, I apologize. It's pretty good, and just good vibes.
I guess question for the audience: do you accept Matt's apology?
Ooh, I like that. At Matt Birchler. Not
Flood his mentions. Don't forget that he said he doesn't have a lot of mentions.
Just Matt Birchler's mentions, and no email to me, please.
At Chris Lawley.
Because as we will talk about in just a second, I don't need any more email. Please, no more email. Never any more email.
Transition.
So this week, I figured it would probably be really important for us to talk about Apple Intelligence. It is now in the 18.1 beta. Despite what Apple said at WWDC, it is not shipping in 18.0. It is shipping in 18.1. Some stuff is here, some stuff isn't. Half features for some features that are here. It's very confusing.
And if you're in Europe, nothing's here. So there you go.
Well, yes, sort of, kind of. I saw something go by. I don't know. I saw something that. I guess we'll just rip that Band-Aid off right now. But I'm assuming, Niléane, you haven't used it at all, right?
No.
Okay, I did see something go by about how Apple Intelligence may come to Europe, but just on the Mac.
People have been able to enable it on the Mac already, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And by switching the region to the US and switching the language to US English on the Mac.
The proper English, not the King's English, the President's English.
Sure. But yeah, on iOS, you just cannot install it.
Interesting.
Not available.
Well, guys shouldn't hold corporations accountable. Let them have free reign, and then you can get Apple Intelligence. So,
right.
That is a joke. Please do not at me. But yeah, so I'm assuming, Matt, have you tried Apple Intelligence?
I have. As we've spoken numerous times on this podcast, I recklessly install every beta as soon as it's possibly available. So I have it on my iPhone, my iPad, and my Mac are all Apple Intelligence up.
Even though you're the one that told us do not install beta on your production machine.
Correct.
Still mad.
I'm kind of in this weird spot because I have to do my iPad OS and iOS 18 walkthrough. So I have my review unit iPads still, luckily I still have them. So I have one iPad with 18.1, one iPad with 18.0, and then I have some review unit iPhones still. So one iPhone on 18.1 and one iPhone on 18.0. It is a very confusing time here. Whenever I pick up a device, I'm like, which one are you again? So yeah, that... Talk about privilege, I know, whatever. But I've been playing around with it, and there's some stuff I like, and there's some stuff I didn't, and I figure we can just go through this stuff as a group. Niléane, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in. I'm sorry you haven't had a chance to try it. But let's start with the new Siri. I love the animation. But the actual Siri, when it comes to asking it questions, has not been great. And I want to caveat all this by saying this is very much a beta. This is obviously not the shipping version. Stuff can definitely change, but this is the stuff that they're shipping to developers right now. And I will very much say that, like, the questions. So I talked about this in the Mac Stories team Discord. One of the very first questions I asked the new Siri, softball question, like literally the softest of softball questions, just because I wanted to see if it could get it. When is the next Formula One race? And it gave me Bahrain in like 2023. So the opening race to last season, not even the current season. We're currently on summer break for Formula One. So the next race isn't actually until, I believe, end of August. Isn't that right, Matt? End of August.
End of August. Race? Yep.
Yeah. So didn't even come close. It didn't even give me a future race. It gave me a past race. And that was pretty disappointing. Matt, have you had any better experiences with that?
Okay, so I haven't read up on any articles of like, here's what's new, or here's what's currently available in the beta, here's what's not yet. So from my perspective, Siri is exactly the same. I cannot tell any difference from what it, outside of the animation, it seems exactly the same to me.
Yeah.
It's right as much as it is. It's wrong as much as it always has. Like, I don't see anything smart or clever about it that wasn't there before.
So from my understanding, and I could be wrong about this because I read all of this stuff while I had COVID. So if you've had COVID, you know you're not exactly in the right mind when you have that. So from my understanding, all the scraping and web stuff and like the information should be there, but the app intent stuff where it digs into your task manager or your email app or something like that stuff isn't there right now. So it should still be able to answer a simple question like, when is the next Formula One race? When was the Formula One race opener for 2023? But anyways.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'll just do this from time to time. So I have a question. When you said this in the chat, I replied with a screenshot of my old Siri, and I asked the same question. Did it get it right?
I don't remember because my brain was shot. Let's see if I can.
Oh, that was a while ago. Oh my god. Okay, that was a bad question.
No, it's okay. You
Oh, there you go.
Here, I have the old Siri right here.
Okay.
When is the next Formula One race? Actually, this one does get it right. Wait, no, no. I take that. When is the next Formula One race? Is the next one the Dutch Grand Prix?
That's what it told me.
It is. Yeah.
It is the next one. Okay, so old Siri got it right. I'm going to ask new Siri again just to give it.
I just asked new Siri, and new Siri did get it right for me.
When is the next Formula One race? Okay, so it got it right now, but when it originally launched, it did not get it right. So, okay, it's always learning.
Classic Siri.
One thing I do love about the new Siri though is the type to Siri. So on the iPhone, you can long press on the like home bar thing and get that. If you have like an iPad, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same on the Mac, you can hit Globe S on a keyboard, and you can just start doing type to Siri, which that is something I loved. That's been an accessibility feature for a while, but it was one of those things that you either had to turn on type to Siri and turn off like the voice option of Siri, or have the voice option turn off type to Siri. It was one or the other. Now it's both. And on the iPad, I really like type to Siri because I'm usually hands-on keyboard working away, and if I'm in public, I don't want to talk to Siri and look like a weirdo. I look like a weirdo enough as it is. So I really love that feature. Have either of you ever used type to Siri?
I have, but just like you, I prefer only. Sometimes I want to talk, sometimes I want to type, and being able to bounce back and forth is great.
For me, it makes more sense to talk on my iPhone and Apple Watch and type on my iPad and, just my iPad. I almost said Mac, but I don't use a Mac. That was weird.
You didn't mention a Vision Pro either.
Oh, Vision Pro. Is Type to Siri even on Vision Pro? I don't even know.
No one's checked.
No one's checked. Niléane, how about you? Do you use Type to Siri?
Yeah, I do on my iPhone.
Okay.
The thing is, when you enable it in accessibility settings, you can't trigger it anymore with the side button.
Oh, really?
You can. I mean, you can't trigger it the normal way with the side button. It's always Type to Siri.
Oh, yeah. It's you can't do the voice stuff and Type to Siri.
That's right.
The nice thing is with the new Siri is you can do both. You can do voice, and then if you like long press on the bar, you would get Type to Siri instead, which I really do like that because sometimes I just want to type. I don't want to talk to it.
I have a warm take.
Okay.
I was expecting that by this time, I mean, we are in 2024, and a few years ago, I was expecting that Siri would someday merge into Spotlight.
Same. 100% the same.
Yeah, and now that we've got Type to Siri, it's a bit strange that we're having two text inputs, somewhat smart text inputs that do different things, but although sometimes they do the same things.
Yes.
And yeah.
I kid you not, Niléane, when I started putting together my notes on Apple Intelligence, because I'll do an Apple Intelligence walkthrough video when that stuff ships, that was one of the first things I wrote was, why is Type to Siri separate from Spotlight?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not alone.
No,
Okay.
I don't even think that's a warm take. I think that's a good hot take.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Raycast does, right? Like you use it as a launcher, you can use it as a search, but you can also ask like questions in it as well, and it does kind of all of them.
And the funny thing is too is the Magic Keyboard doesn't have a dedicated, like you would think that the new Magic Keyboard for the iPad would have a dedicated Siri button. Now, like I said, you can hit Globe S to do Type to Siri. You can long press on the dictation button to get the Talk to Siri, but then you also have Command Space for Spotlight. And it just seems so obvious that all of that stuff should have been combined right into Spotlight. Like you should have been able to just ask it a question and let Siri handle it and figure it out from there. I'm shocked that they didn't do that.
Yeah, even if it means getting rid of the Spotlight name, just rebrand it all as Siri and
like Siri Bar or something.
Yeah.
Maybe not that.
Yeah, iPads don't get a menu bar, but they do get a Siri bar.
Oh, my Siri just went off.
Oh, no.
That's staying in the show. So a couple of other things. Let's move along because we're kind of going long. But a couple other things that have been added into it. So first off is writing tools. This is the thing I was the most excited about. Proofread is really good for the most part. It messed up big time once, but it was really nice while I was very, very sick and needing to send off some important emails to catch some major grammar and spelling mistakes and just fix them for me. I actually really like that. I will probably never use the context writing stuff like make this more professional or make this friendly. That stuff just kind of seems weird to me. I don't want that. What I do want is a really good spelling and grammar checker, and that seems to be it. The surprise for me is it actually kind of works in Obsidian. I was not expecting that. Because Obsidian is this weird catalyst, or not even catalyst, it's like a weird Electron app that kind of actually works really well. And but the writing tool stuff is there. Matt, have you used those yet?
I have. I did use Proofread, and it crashed Ulysses once or twice for me, but other times it works great. So beta things.
Yeah.
I am most excited about Proofread as well because I have so many typos. If my mentions are flooded with anything, they are telling me about typos in my blog posts. So don't stop doing that. I love those. Thank you. I've been recently experimenting with Grammarly in my writing to try to get rid of those obvious errors. And I think it's noticeably better than Proofread is in in Apple Intelligence, but I'm hoping Apple Intelligence catches up because I would much rather just use the native thing and not use Grammarly, because Grammarly gives me the creeps a little bit.
Yeah. No, I've been enjoying Proofread, but there's definitely cases, like I said, it messed up big time once. But again, like I said, this is a very much a beta thing. Mail, Safari, and Messages, they all kind of got their own versions of summaries. And this is another thing I was very much looking forward to. We have some busy group chats, some things I'm hoping this stuff goes to third-party apps like Discord for like the Mac Stories Discord, Team Discord, and stuff like that. If you're like away from a day, like some stuff can pop off over there, and it would just be nice to get summaries. But I found most of the summaries to be very vague. Like, it's trying to get a lot of stuff into just a couple of lines, and you can mostly get the point of it, but for some stuff, like some emails and stuff like that, you're like, what are you? It's kind of having a little bit of a fever dream, and like I mentioned, I was going to talk about how bad my mail is. I have over 1,000 unread emails right now, and I'm really going to rely heavily on this summary feature to just quickly skim through and be like, is this something I actually need to deal with? Is this like a spam related message? Is this just one of those ones that like, hey, this person found my public email address and they thought I really wanted to sign up for their newsletter, or they put me on a bunch of mailing lists and sold that mailing list off. Thank you for those, by the way. If you're one of those people, I really love you and you're my best friend.
You heard it, everybody.
I'm trying desperately not, because I'm trying to remember, hey, this is a video podcast, so there's one thing I really want to do right now, but I can't do it because we would get in trouble. But yeah, those people, you are, if you sign somebody up for an email thing and without their permission, you are a horrible person. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah. I'll blame it on COVID if you get mad at me, but really, I do think you're a horrible person if you sign me up for stuff and I didn't give you permission. But anyways, summaries.
Anyway.
What do you guys like about those? Sorry, I just went off on an angry tangent for a second there. Over 1,000 unread emails right now. I'm not even joking.
No, that's no way to live.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a you problem.
It's my career problem, and people trying to scam the way, trying to scam their products onto my channel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
So I very much agree. This is very cool some of the time. I find it really nice for messages when like a number of messages came in. It's also, they're short, but they are also sometimes beautiful. My dad sent me and my siblings some messages yesterday, and I took a screenshot of it because the summary from Apple Intelligence was, "Dad dreams of aging, time's impact on life." And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
wow.
What?
It wasn't that serious a message, but like,
Oh my God.
I was like, what is happening? And I tapped into that thread very quickly.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yeah, I had one, I think it was from you two, that like you guys were talking about recording the episode last week or something like that, and like I was like peak COVID, and I saw the summary and I'm like, I have no idea what any of this means. It was but also it probably could have just been COVID. So that's why I'm not trying to be too harsh on the summaries, but like the stuff I've seen in like my email and stuff like that, it does not go great. The other issue with the email stuff is that if you use something like SaneBox and it filters into like other folders, so like the Sane Later folder or the Sane News folder, it does not give you a summary for those messages. So you do not see a summary at all for those. It only gives you a summary for stuff that is in your inbox, which is a bummer because that means I have hundreds of emails that do not have that summary. So I'll have to go into the email and then click summarize. You don't get like the little 2-line summary where the original first 2 lines of the email used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no setting for that?
Maybe there is, but I haven't found it. So
Okay.
if there is a setting, at Chris Lawley.
Yeah, it's also inconsistent, I find. Like I'm looking at my inbox right now in mail. 2 out of the 6 messages I can see right now have them. Some of the ones that don't have been there for days, so there's been plenty of time for it to generate them. But yeah, I wonder how much of it is beta behavior, how much of it is intended behavior. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's gonna be one of those things. We'll know more as betas come out, but that's why I'm trying not to be too harsh on it. There is it doesn't look like there is a setting to tell it to summarize messages in other folders. It's just an on and off setting, so that's a bummer. But yeah, it's just summarize message previews, and I'm assuming that's just for inbox. So yeah, it'd be cool if it did for the other folders. But I know Apple is also kind of working on their own version of Sane Box, and I'm very excited to try that. But we're not sure when that is going to ship. But moving along, I got 2 more things I want to talk about. Photos has the ability to create memories, so basically albums from a prompt. And I threw a couple at it, like me and my girlfriend, me and my family, dogs, and stuff like that. And it did a really good job. I never got any false positives with those. Now, to be fair, I didn't throw at anything too hard, but the stuff I threw at it was all on point. Have you tried that, Matt?
I have. The one issue I've had with it is it often says it does like the cool animation and then says, I can't make an album of that. Or I can't
really?
make a thing for that.
I haven't had that.
Yeah. So I actually haven't seen the result yet because it always says that to me. So again, beta things most likely.
Huh, interesting. Okay. I like it. Hopefully that gets smoothed out so you can try it. And then the last feature I want to mention is the reduce interruptions focus. So this is the new focus mode that is supposed to be smart and basically let notifications that are priorities come through, but everything else gets blocked. And so far it's done a really great job. I think I made a video a few years back about how I'm always in a focus mode and I have different focus modes for different tasks I'm doing and stuff like that, and that is still true to this day. But I've been kind of easing up on that a little bit, and I think this reduce interruptions kind of smart focus is going to replace a lot, like when I'm writing or doing admin tasks or something like that. And I'll probably just have like a specific focus mode for when I'm filming, because like when I'm filming my devices, I want no notifications coming through because I don't want to have to reshoot stuff and things like that. So I like that one quite a bit. Matt, have you played with that?
Nope. Like I said, I have not read what's in here, so I didn't even know that was there, but I just turned it on. So I am very intrigued by that because kind of like you, I used focus modes for like work, and I still have a weekend one that I really like, but reduce interruptions is probably what I want most of the time. I've also gone through a moment of enlightenment for myself where I've turned off notifications for almost every single app, and I'm happier. Maybe we should talk about that at a later date, but I turned off like literally everything except for messages, and I like it.
Yes, we need to add that because I have some hot takes on notifications, so we should talk about that next week or something.
So do
maybe. Okay. All right. One of us is bringing notifications next week. Okay. Well, but Niléane, so that's about it. But Niléane, do you have any questions on Apple Intelligence before we move on?
I don't have questions. I have impressions from the outside.
Okay.
All of this, and I mean everything.
Okay.
Sounds like something that I don't really want on my phone.
Interesting. Okay.
The most interesting things were to me the writing tools, but I don't think I ever need that on my phone. And on the Mac, I have other things to do this. I have other tools to do this already via Raycast and other tools. So I'm a bit. It's a recurrent theme this year. I feel a bit let down, and I feel like maybe Apple has wasted a full software cycle on this.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year is more interesting and has features that actually ship in Europe. But Yeah, maybe it's because I'm just upset. I realize that I may be just upset, but none of this sounds really interesting to me.
Yeah, for the most part, like I said, I'm trying to be a little more open minded because this is very much a beta. So hopefully it gets smoothed out and all works a little bit better. But like the writing tools and the reduce interruptions focus, those are definitely the two things I'm the most excited about. I will definitely use the writing tools on my iPhone because I send professional emails from my phone, and I would very much like those to be have proper spelling and proper grammar. The photo stuff is interesting, but I don't think that needed to be attached to Apple Intelligence. Like, that's just something Apple should have done no matter what. And new Siri was a long time coming, but as I've said, I don't think it's that much better right now. But I mean, it is getting the right Formula One race, so we'll see. That one that one kind of might just need to be like shaked out and go from there. But
the one thing I wanted to say about Siri is I think once they add like the additional stuff that it can do with like interacting with the apps on your screen and stuff, the thing that's not a functional change, but a thing I think they should do anyway, is they need a new voice for Siri.
Yes.
Oh.
It will make it feel more new than it is now. Like that's one of the things I was feeling when I was asking it some test questions after I installed it. And it was the same voice as always. And I just like thought of it just emotionally. It was the same Siri, which is a lot of software design is dealing with people's emotions, but it just felt like the same Siri I've always talked to with a new animation. And so I would suggest, if they can, they should have a new voice ready that sounds better. Like the OpenAI voices are like obscenely good.
What about Scarlett Johansson?
You know what? It would be the funniest thing possible.
Honestly, at that point, she might just do it to be spiteful and just I would 100% applaud that. I'd be like, yes, because get Apple to pay you $1 bajillion and just do it. That would be awesome. But yeah, that's kind of it for what I have for Apple Intelligence. I'm sure this is going to be something we follow up on, but I kind of wanted to just go over what is here, what's not here, and what we're excited about. So yeah.
Nice. So Niléane, you have something different here.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this.
So this is kind of a follow-up item, but yeah, anyway, a couple of episodes ago, I don't know, that was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks, I told you that I convinced my partner to get a MacBook for the first time of their life.
Nice.
Yeah, and they were coming from years on end of Linux laptops. So that's not a person who's been using Windows. Actually, they pretty much don't know anything about Windows.
Ooh, interesting.
So keep that in mind. Now, I have taken notes over the past weeks on what my partner hates the most, complains the most on a day-to-day basis about macOS. And I will tell you the top 3 things that my partner hates the most about macOS. But I just want to give you guys a go. Try to guess what are those 3 things.
Oh, I think I can get 2 of them right off the bat.
Yeah. Keep in mind, they don't know anything about Windows.
Yeah.
So not your typical usual complaints.
I think I can get 2 right off the bat. I'm going to guess the first one is probably all the app permission stuff. Like, especially this week, like we saw that the screen recording thing is blowing up where it's going to ask you, oh, are you sure you want this app to be able to do screen recordings every single week? But like all the permission stuff for like using microphones and dictation. And I can't remember all the stuff that's on Mac OS, but all those prompts that I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other one that I'm going to say is Gatekeeper. Like I think it's Gatekeeper, right? Is that the thing that if you're installing a non-Mac App Store app or something like that, or a
non-signed,
non-signed app, that's what it is. You have to go into I don't know. I literally use a Mac once a week for Edge. I rarely use it, so I don't remember what it's called. But like you got to go into settings and basically say like, yeah, you gotta like tell it to open and stuff like that. I'm guessing that's 2 of them. Am I close?
Kind of, but not really.
Okay.
Okay. I was going to say something about incessant notifications and pop-ups as well.
Okay.
Interestingly, my wife, who came from Windows, bought a Mac recently. That was one of her complaints. Again, which is not great when the Windows user is complaining about pop-ups on Macs.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to say something about software availability. The apps they're used to and want to run maybe aren't on the Mac.
That's also very close. All right. So, top 3 things. Top 1 is mission control. My
Really?
partner complains about mission control
okay.
every single day. And let me explain. Yeah, let me explain. On Linux, there is a very common desktop environment that's available in Ubuntu and most other distributions. That's called GNOME. And it's a very popular one, very user-friendly, easy to use. And GNOME, the way it works is it looks a lot like macOS because you've got a dock that's sometimes on the left side of the screen, sometimes on the bottom, depending on the distributions. I think Ubuntu now puts it on the bottom anyway. So it's got a dock and an overview, and it's called the activities overview. And in that overview, your windows are in expose mode, and you can create spaces. So they are called desktops in GNOME. And you can create multiple spaces, and you can swipe horizontally between your desktops and still have the dock at the bottom. And in that activities overview at the top of the screen, there's a search bar. So imagine like it's mission control combined with Spotlight. And that's the main piece of UI that you use to manage your windows, your apps, and your apps on your Linux laptop when it's running GNOME. So they're really used to that. And when I was trying to convince them that they would be at home on macOS, because macOS has a very similar thing. Mission control is very similar to this concept. When you go into mission control, you've got your dock visible, you got your windows visible, and they can be stacked by apps in mission control if you enable the setting. And you can create spaces at the top of the screen, and you can switch horizontally between spaces. Right. The thing is, they made me realize that mission control is extraordinarily limited on macOS for no obvious reason, actually. Example, if you go into mission control, you cannot right-click on icons in the dock. Did you know that?
No idea.
I did not know that. So when you're in mission control, you cannot interact in any way with the dock apart from left-clicking on stuff. And if you left-click on a stack while in mission control on a stack in the dock, it opens the stack, but then it throws you out of mission control. You can't do both at the same time.
Interesting.
One other thing, they immediately complained about the fact that in mission control, contrary to GNOME, you can't interact with the windows apart from making them active. You can't close them, you can't quit them, you can't hide them, minimize them, move them. The only thing you can do is make them active or move them to another space. And that was really frustrating to them. And I made them buy a small utility that I've used for years and I don't even remember that it's not part of the OS. It's called Mission Control Plus.
Yes, this was what I was going to ask, is if they installed this, because when I had my brief stint back on the MacBook Pro after LumaFusion let me down, this was like one of the first utilities I bought, because I was like, what do you mean I can't close Windows from Mission Control? Yeah.
And this leads me to the second thing that my partner hates the most about macOS, and that is where do I find trustworthy software? First, right off the bat, they were really surprised that they had to install something to fix Mission Control, but yeah, they were really surprised that it's not actually easy to find trustworthy software when you're not already in the ecosystem. So I told them, just go into the App Store.
Ooh.
But then Yeah, but then many utilities are not in the App Store. Many popular apps are not in the App Store. So then you got to find them online. And that's why I told you, remember they're not coming from Windows, because Windows users are used to that.
Mm-hmm.
They download software from the web all the time. That's not an issue. They barely know about the Microsoft Store, the Windows Store. But here, my partner was used to just being able to download stuff from the Linux repositories, the distribution repositories. So everything's in one place. You've got one place to go where you can download all your software. That's not the case on the Mac. And so I kept recommending stuff to fix annoyances in my partner's workflow on the Mac. And every time they were like, but why, what am I installing here? Who is that person making this? Can I trust them? Has it been authorized by anything or anyone? Of course, we know as longtime Mac users, Apple OS's users in general, that Apple notarizes stuff, and you know that when you don't have to deal with pop-ups, like you said, when you don't have to deal with gatekeeper, if you can install the software right away, it's been notarized and it's fine. But my partner doesn't know that. I've had to explain that to him.
That's really interesting, because I think Apple's perspective on this would be, you shouldn't have to worry about this as a user. You should just, if you find an app that you think looks cool, you should be able to install it. And if it's not secure, we'll show you an alert that says, hey, this app is not notarized, we can't validate it. And then we'll make you jump through hoops, and you probably won't, so you'll just uninstall it. But it is interesting to have this other perspective of, I want a way to be confident before I even download anything. Like, is this from a reputable developer? Is this something I can trust? And I guess the developer's website has to do that, right? You have to show like people who say they like it. You need to show reviews. Yeah. But yeah, especially for a Linux person, like the restrictions on the Mac apps in the Mac App Store are not going to make those things that they want to use most likely easily available.
And it probably doesn't help that we just had a big hubbub over bartender in the Apple community recently, which is a very rare thing. We very rarely have like blow ups over Mac apps and like not knowing who makes them. Like, being in the Apple community, we usually know like developers or teams or something behind that. We know like, oh, if you see something made by Barebones Software or Panic or Omni Group or something like that, oh yeah, like it's gonna be no problem. Just install it. Like, you don't have to worry about it. But like when you come from Linux, I totally get that. Yeah, I totally see that.
Yeah, and it was really surprising to me, because I guess we are very much biased. I know off the top of my head of maybe a list of 20 apps, utilities on the Mac that I can trust. That I know many of us have been using for years and recommending for years. But what happens if you just come in blind? You don't have that list, and you don't know anyone who would pass on that list to you. And in their perspective, I was the only person being able to recommend them stuff. And yeah, I can understand that it was hard to trust me.
Well, that was like when I got my very first MacBook, so that I owned. So I got a 2009 MacBook Pro, graduation present. But I didn't get it right away. I had to wait for my dad to get his bonus check in the summer. So it was like a month after I actually graduated from high school, before I started college. I had to wait, and I spent that whole month just researching apps, finding Apple blogs, because I was a big Windows person before that. I built custom PCs. I knew what apps and stuff to go and get and what software to install. But on the Mac, I was like, man, there's all these wild utilities. I remember Bartender being like one of the first ones and stuff that I installed back in the day. And I would literally just spend a bunch of time researching apps and stuff like that. But I also was on summer break and had that time and really wasn't doing much else except working at a pizza place. So that was kind of what I did in between the month of when I found out I was getting one and I was actually going to get it. So, and it actually was beneficial that I waited that month because I also got the back to school thing. So it worked out just fine for me. But yeah, no, I totally get where your partner's coming from, Niléane. Like that is kind of a hard thing when you know an ecosystem like the back of your hand, and then all of a sudden it's okay, we're going to try something completely different. And oh, what do you mean? I needed to go understand that, like, hey, Mac Stories and 9 to 5 Mac, they're trusted blogs. So if they talk about a Mac app, you're probably good to go and download it. But, like this really weird, random Apple blog 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, like, we don't know who they are. We don't even know who's behind it. So maybe be a little more cautious kind of thing.
Yeah. So, and the top third thing, what is the order of words here? The third top thing, that my partner hates the most in macOS is something very specific. It's got to do with Finder.
Ooh.
It's the way that the icon grid in Finder is not aligned by default, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Can't you turn that on, like the snapping? Isn't that an option?
Okay, so if anyone knows a fix, please send me a message. But what I've found is that you have the option to clean up. That's what it's called. In the context menu.
Yeah.
And it does align of everything in a grid. But by default, when you drag and drop stuff in there, it's just free form. You can place them anywhere, and items can overlap, and it can be a bit of a disordering nightmare. So it was really hard to convince them that this was meant to be, that this was not a bug, because they were convinced it's a bug. Like, my Finder is completely broken. Niléane, help me out. Why can I make my icons overlap? This does not make sense.
I think I found it.
Oh, is it?
Okay. So if you go into Finder and put it in icon view, there is the menu button on the far right side, just to the left of the magnifying glass icon. You see that one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. And then so if you scroll down, there's cleanup by, but above that there's sort by, and there is snap to grid. Is that what you're looking for?
Very good.
Yeah, the iPad guy knows the Mac.
What's
up?
All right, let me level this up for you too, as the Mac guy.
Go ahead.
If you right click or hit Command J in the view and go to your view options.
Yep.
There's going to be sort by, and you can choose snap to grid. And then at the bottom say uses defaults. So that'll work everywhere on your Mac, not just that one folder.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, okay.
See, I always use column view. I'm a big column view person.
So that's why I was not really helpful, because I never use this this view in Finder. I don't like it.
You're like, can I tell you the good news about columns?
Okay, so they hate the column view because I preached it like I should. It's great. You got a details pane when you're at the end. Everything. It's really good.
Yeah.
They hate it. So
really?
there was nothing I could do.
Yeah. It's weird. I know column view is like huge in Mac users, but like I am yet to find a Windows or anyone else who like is drawn to it. It's very weird.
They want the icon view.
Interesting to me, because as somebody that was a big time Windows user for like, I don't even know, let's say 15 years, whatever. The moment I started using a Mac, actually, it's probably more like 12 years. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. My brain's getting hung up on it, though. The moment I started using Finder and found column view, I was like, oh my gosh, this is genius. You can move things around. You can move things to the other folder. You can see other folders. You have the detail pane. That is wonderful. I love this. So that is interesting to hear that, your partner and other Windows users, like Matt said, don't like column view because
I think they're just really confused by the fact that you can see multiple directories at once.
See, I see that as a benefit because like I can just move files around really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it just doesn't compute for some people.
How does your partner feel about like tabs in Finder and Terminal and stuff like that?
So they've been trying to use tabs, but I've been trying to convince them that it's not necessarily the way to go. So I'm not sure. I think they're not settled on it. I know that I prefer, except for my browser, I prefer not to use tabs. Like,
interesting.
In most places. And I think they should do the same as me because they rely so much on mission control. Like, they really want to use mission control. And I think that's the best way to deal with multiple views is to have multiple windows instead of multiple tabs.
Having tabs in every app is actually probably the top of my list thing that I miss from Mac OS. Like, I would love to have tab view in Notes, tab view in Mail, and other apps and stuff like that. Like, I know it's in obviously it's in Safari and stuff like that, but like it's not in Finder. Like, I don't have tabs in that, so that means I end up with,
well, you don't have Finder
or files. I'm sorry, files. But whatever. Okay. I end up with 4 files windows, and I max out at that, and I'm like, that would be a great way to get around your Stage Manager limitation of only being able to have 4 windows, which that limitation, that is my biggest annoyance right now with iPad OS. But we don't have time for that.
Yeah, so that was it. I guess you solved one of the 3 things. That's pretty good, guys. Well
nice. Done. Well, hopefully that gets you some like partner points, as I call it with my girlfriend. I call them partner points, and I will point things out when I'm like, hey, I did this thing. I would like 2 partner points for it, and I don't know what I redeem them for, but hey, yeah,
good concept.
Yeah, I just like to win. Speaking of,
oh God.
Are you guys ready for me
Matt's
to win?
ready to lose.
I'd just like to point out before we get started, I've been miserable for the last week and a half with COVID. I just want to point that out. And, whatever, don't let that influence your vote. But
yeah, how is that related?
Sounds like an easy target then.
Yeah. But I think it's ready for the challenge. Matt, you had a few things for us to do. What did you have for us?
I did. So I've evolved the challenge form to actually be a competition as well. So I really like daily games, and I thought it'd be fun for us to try to find the best daily games we can. So general concept, a daily game is a game that you can play for a few minutes every day, and it changes every day to incentivize you to come back. I wanted us to pick what we think is our personal favorite, and then also one, it could be the same one, I suppose, one that you think is the best for everybody listening to the show that they should check out and they're going to love the most. Maybe we should do a poll on Mastodon or something. To get
maybe.
Yeah.
I would just like to point out, or just ask a clarification. Are we only voting for the person to win that has the best game for everyone, or are we voting for our 2 in general put together? I
think the poll should be voting for the game.
For everyone, not just the one that's specifically for us, but the one that we're bringing for everyone.
The one
right?
for everybody. Yeah. So our poll should have 3 options, and they should be the 3 games that we pick, not our names, so no one picks favorites.
I mean, if they, yeah, okay, all right, I like that. Okay, yeah, we'll have to do like a poll and we'll boost it or something. But
yeah.
Niléane, you want to go first?
Okay, so I picked 2 games that are related. And there's one that I like over the other. Let me explain. So the first one is Mini Metro. And it's not always been something that you could categorize as a daily game. But in Mini Metro, it's been the case for a few years. Every day you can open the game and you can play a daily challenge. Sounds like something we would like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to to remind everyone what Mini Metro is, it's a very cute-looking game where you draw metro lines between stations, and you've got to stay alive for the longest time possible. And by staying alive, I mean you die by getting a station overflowing with people. If there's too many people in the station, you lose. So you got to keep the cars moving, and the cars have limited capacity. It's really addictive games, and it's incredibly well designed. I'm sure I'm not. You're not learning about this game, right?
Yeah.
Everyone
No, I
knows
love this
Mini
game.
Metro.
I think it's great.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And I've rediscovered it this week through the daily challenge. The way that the daily challenges work is every day, you've got a map that's been picked, I guess by the developers. Maybe it's random, I don't know. And there's a map that's been picked, a difficulty mode that's been picked, and you've got statistics. So you can compare yourself to the rest of the user base, or the player base. So you can see how well you're doing compared to everyone on Earth playing this game, which is really fun. And sometimes there are special rules. Like the other day, there was I don't remember which map it was. London, maybe, I don't remember. But it was in difficulty mode, in hard mode. Oh my god, I should have taken notes. No, it wasn't London. I think it was Cairo in Egypt, where the cars on this map, the train cars are smaller, so they have smaller capacity. And it was in difficulty mode hard, which meant that you could not redraw lines. So everything you did was permanent, and that was especially hard. And I didn't do well on that day. So anyway, Mini Metro, it's great. Play the daily game. It's really funny to see how bad you are doing at this game compared to the rest of the world. And the other game in this pair that's related to it is a more recent game. It's called Mini Motorways. And you may see in our show notes, guys.
Yeah, what is this qualifier?
I feel called out. This is personally. I feel like it is a personal attack.
I did not say that it's the best for everyone, Mini Motorways. I think it's the best for Americans. Like, because you all like cars, Cybertrucks, and stuff.
We don't all like Cybertrucks.
Yeah, you all.
No, definitely not Cybertruck. I was not yeeing for the Cybertruck.
Okay,
I
sure.
hate the Cybertruck. The Ford Mustang GT. That is my car. It is the most problematic thing about me. I will fully admit. I love my gas guzzling Ford Mustang GT. The most problematic thing about me, but yes.
All right.
I love cars. Love cars.
All right, cars. Anyway, just so you know, I have no idea what you just said. Those are all cars to me. I don't even know. Okay, so Mini Motorways is similar to Mini Metro, but as you guessed it, instead of drawing lines, metro lines, you're drawing roads, streets between houses and workplaces, and the city is ever expanding, and you have to keep up with the demand and the amount of cars on the roads. And what's funny, Chris, is that you keep mentioning car names like Ford, whatever, Cyber Ford, I don't know.
No. We don't mix Ford in with the Cybertruck. We keep those.
That's the collaboration everybody wants.
No. I will not allow that slander. I will not allow that slander.
But in Mini Motorways, they are all the same shape. They're all cars. And I think that's a great representation of roads and cars. Anyway, this game is really good as well. Like, seriously, it's really addictive as well. And it's kind of different because the challenge is not in the same places. You have to deal with the shape of your roads, with the amount of intersections. You can unlock motorways, like highways, that you can place a bit more freely, but you don't have as many of them. So the challenge is not in the same places as in Mini Metro, where in Mini Metro you optimize for other things. So I think it's it's a more advanced game, but that's why I didn't classify it as best for me. I say it's best for Americans because, okay, seriously, best for everyone because I think you can get more hours out of it. You're not going to get bored as quickly as with Mini Metro, and it's also got a daily challenge and the same concept. It's every day it's a different map with different rules, and you can see how bad you're doing compared to the rest of the world. It's also got a weekly challenge. So that's a thing as well.
Ooh, that's a bonus. Nice.
Nice. Yeah. I've played both of these. I enjoy both of them. I agree. I like Mini Motorways a little bit more because it just has a bit more mechanics when it comes to not just placing the streets, but you also have the freeways and stuff like that. So I like those.
Gorgeous too. Absolutely gorgeous.
It's beautiful. The sound design is incredible as well.
Yeah.
So for me, I've got a couple. First one, I know we said you're not allowed to bring Wordle, but I didn't bring Wordle. I brought Star Wordle for me because it's Star Wars, but Wordle. I mean, it was the only daily game that I could find that was Star Wars, so you knew I had to like jam it in there somehow. I had to jam Star Wars in there somehow, but that's why I labeled it best for me. But really, I think the best for everyone, and it's one that I've been playing quite a bit. I just because like. Again, I've been sick. Coffee Golf. This is a game. Apparently, it's been around for a little while. I just found it. I must have missed that week when it was in the news, if it was ever in the news. I don't know. But it's a very simple golf game. There's 5 holes. You're on kind of basically an island. And you have 3 clubs. You have a driver, an iron, and a putter. And the goal is to get the ball in the hole as few strokes as you can. I even got a hole in one once, which was really fun. But it's a really interesting. It's a very addictive game. It's daily, so there's new courses every single day. Really enjoyed it overall. I really like it. It's not an overly complex game. It's one of those ones that I can spend 5-10 minutes playing and then move on with my day. I didn't feel like I was sinking my whole day into it. I would just play the course and then move on. And yeah. That's. I don't really have too much to say on it, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Star Wars looks like fun. I will try it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to play Plagueis.
Yeah, well, Darth Plagueis the Wise. It was a Sith Lord.
I know which one Matt's not going to find.
He found the secret to immortality.
Supposedly.
But yeah, so those are my 2. I don't really have too much to say on them. But Star Wordle, I mostly just wanted to jam a Star Wars reference in here.
Well done.
It's Wordle, but Star Wars. It's nothing special. But Coffee Golf, if you're looking for like a very casual daily game, it's perfect. It doesn't require a ton of brain power. You're not going to sink a ton of time into it. It's very, very casual.
Yeah, this one is good. I like golf games, and I haven't played this one in a little bit, but you've reminded me that I should go back to it.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's an easy transition into what I have picked as the best for me game, which is Pixel Pro Golf, which is a golf game. And I love, love, love this game. This is one of my favorite mobile games of all time. It's as close as I've ever found to a modern Mario Golf of the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance styles. There's no RPG stuff, but like the gameplay is it's so good. I love it. And they have daily tournaments. So they have a daily tournament where it's a random selection of one of the courses with a certain set of golf clubs, and everybody can play it. There's actually 2 of them, and you can play 1 or 2 of these tournaments. And like with Mini Motorways, you see how you rank on a leaderboard of everyone playing the game, and there are like something like 1,000 people playing it every day, so like you can really see where you're at. I did win 1 tournament once. I was so proud of myself.
Oh wow. Okay.
Nice.
But often I'm shooting for like the top 200 or 300 in the world. So anyway, I love this game. It's so much fun. I think it's free, and then just a couple bucks to unlock everything. But the daily tournaments are free. They also do seasons, so if you want to like commit, the better you do each day, the more points you earn, and then at the end of the season, there's a ranking for the whole season as well. So you can try to rank highly there. I love this game, but the one that I think is best for everybody is one of the games in Puzzmo, which is my favorite daily game thing of all time. I love it. But there's a specific game in there called Pile Up Poker, which is hard to describe, but it's basically you're playing poker hands using a deck of cards, and you're playing them on a 4x4 grid. So you basically draw a hand of cards, and you have to place those cards on the grid, and then you get another hand, and you have to place those, and you're basically trying to make poker hands horizontally, vertically, and on all four corners. And, you know, a two pair is more than a pair. There's straights, there's flushes, there's all these things. And so they're all the poker hands most of us know. And it's so fun. It's so like well animated. And you basically play 5 boards a day. And there's also this community pot. So you're not necessarily competing with everyone else, but you are, everyone who plays the game is adding to a pot of fake money. And when they hit certain milestones, they unlock new things. So you're kind of all working together to play the game and get more stuff. So I really like this game, and I think a lot of people would love it.
Yeah, I'm playing it right now. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, no, I like this. This is pretty cool. I actually hadn't heard of the Pixel Pro golf game either. I just downloaded that. That one looks really interesting.
Yeah, it's really fantastic.
I like that it sounds like a Google product.
The Pixel Pro Golf Edition.
I had to think that through. I had to think that through for a second. That was actually, yeah, that's good. I like that. All right. Well,
it looks like an RPG.
It does. It's just everything but the RPG.
It looks like a Super Nintendo game is what it looks like. Like that's what immediately jumped out at me is like this looks like something I could be playing on Super Nintendo. All right. Well, I guess we're going to do a Mastodon poll to find out who won, because I have a feeling we'd all just vote for ourselves.
Okay.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then declare each one of ourselves our own winner. So I guess we'll do a Mastodon poll to find out, and we'll put some links in there and stuff to do that. But
yeah, this will be fun.
Before we wrap up the show, because we're going long, so I'm just going to move us right along here. It's my turn to challenge you guys this coming week. And I do have a quick question for you both. Are you both Obsidian users? Do you use the app Obsidian?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. This is going to be a fantastic challenge then. I want you both and myself to find a new Obsidian plugin. And it can't be a popular one. It can't be Data View or Advanced Tables or anything like that. I want something that maybe it's been written about before, talked about before, but I don't want something that's like top 10. I want something that's like, okay, I don't think most people have heard of this one. So, yeah, that's my challenge for you all.
Okay. That's a fun
one. Can I pick a plugin that a friend wrote?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as long as it's not look, I think as long as the spirit of the challenge is don't pick something that's like popular that every Obsidian user out there knows, like Data View or Advanced Tables or something like that. Like if it's something your friend wrote and you use it and you like it, yeah, absolutely, go for it. All right. Anything else before we wrap up?
I'm glad you're back.
Thank you so much, and again, thank you both for carrying the torch, Olympic pun intended. While I was out very, very ill, nobody wanted to hear me talk last week. Trust me on that one. So that just about does it for this episode. Oh, we have our dating question game. I forgot about that. I forgot to pull that up.
Oh no, he's looking for a hard one.
Oh, I love this one. Oh, this one's good. This is a good one. No, this is a good one right here. All right. If you could join any fictional fantasy group, which would it be?
What is that?
Fictional fantasy group. So it could be the Rebel Alliance. It could be
okay.
Like a group. Like yeah, you know. Actually that's going to be mine, Rebel Alliance. Actually no, the Jedi. I would be the Jedi.
Oh no, but they corrupted Chris.
Yeah, well, so am I, so whatever.
Okay, sure. I would say the Eagles in Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, that is a good one. That is a good one. I like that.
can fly
Alright.
places.
Yeah. Why didn't you just fly the ring to Mount Doom? I'm just kidding. There's a whole reason for that.
Of course.
So it doesn't matter. Matt, what would yours be?
Oh man. Okay, I was going to say the hobbits in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
So not actually going anywhere and doing anything on a journey, but I don't want to be just the hobbits in Hobbiton.
Yeah. You want to eat, drink, and be merry.
Yes, and have a nice Ethernet or fiber connection in my hobbit hole.
Sometimes I can just pass by and pick you up and drop you at Mount Doom and see how you struggle to come back.
Doom? No. The Eagles are evil.
Wow. I mean, they kind of saved him from the fell beast, but anyways, I could go on about Lord of the Rings mythology for a very long time, but we have gone very long this episode, so I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up the show here and say thank you to everyone that listened. Matt, Niléane, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.